The desert was quiet. The only sound was wind brushing over the sand, and the low hum of something that didn't belong there, something not from Earth. A black alien craft hovered just above the surface, then landed softly behind a ridge. Numbers. Human radar picked it up. It had come in silent, invisible, unannounced. Inside the ship, a young alien girl named Zarella stood by a glowing panel. Her skin was a pale blue that shimmered like water under the sun. Her large silver eyes were calm but curious. She was a scout sent from the planet Virelia. Her job was to study humans. Her people had watched Earth for years, but no contact had been made, not until now. Zarella's mission was simple: observe, gather data, and return. No violence, no interference. Her leaders believed Earth was primitive, a dead-end planet. Humans, they thought, were barely intelligent, still using gas and metal to power their machines. Harmless. Small. But Zarella was different. She had always wanted to see Earth up close, to understand the strange creatures who made noise, destroyed their own forests, and worshipped invisible gods. She expected to find chaos. She didn't expect to find danger. She tapped a small control orb, and the side of the ship opened. Warm air rushed in. The smell of dust and heat filled the cabin. She stepped out, her feet making no sound on the sand. A small drone floated behind her, recording everything. Her suit shimmered with light, adjusting to the color of the desert. Nearly invisible now. In the distance, she saw movement for humans, walking near a canyon wall. They wore heavy green clothing and helmets. Soldiers, Zarella guessed. One of them carried a long black object. Over his shoulder. A kinetic weapon. She whispered, "Out." A Sieber forms as in cell and sense. Her drone recorded the humans from above. They laughed, unaware that something watched them from only 100 feet away. Zarella crouched behind a rock and scanned their bodies. Weak bone density, uneven heart rhythms. One of them was dehydrated, another coughed hard, possibly sick. Fragile creatures, easy to crush. She pressed her communicator. Zarella to command. Life forms located. Confirmed non-threat. "Copy, Zarella," said a voice in her ear. "Be careful. Proceed with scan and return. Avoid contact." Zarella nodded. She stood to leave, but one of the soldiers suddenly froze. He looked right at her. No, not at her. At her drone. It hovered too low. The shimmer failed. Flash of silver caught the soldier's eye. "Hey, what the hell is that?" he shouted. The soldier raised his weapon and fired. The crack of the gunshot split the air. The bullet shot through the drone's body. Sparks flew. It dropped to the ground, twitching. Zarella's heart jumped. That was no stun beam. No laser. It was something old, dirty, and brutal. A chunk of metal moving at deadly speed. The drone was dead in seconds. She didn't move. She couldn't believe it. Then the soldier turned. "I think there's more out there." He raised his rifle again and scanned the area. Another soldier joined him. "What the hell did you shoot? That wasn't one of ours?" Zarella dropped to the ground, breath frozen. Her cloak shimmered, glitching. The bullet had knocked out her camouflage field. Any second now, they would see her. She pressed a button on her suit. The emergency reboot hummed. 90 seconds until full invisibility returned. Too long. One of the soldiers walked closer. He moved slowly, scanning the rocks with his rifle raised. "Movement over here." Zorella's fingers tightened around a crystal blade at her side. Not a weapon, just a tool. She wasn't allowed to kill. She didn't want to kill. She made a decision. She ran. The soldier saw a flicker in the air like heat. "Hey there! Something's moving!" he fired. Dust exploded beside Zorella's foot. Another shot. Another flash. She sprinted across the rocks, the sun burning above, bullets ripping past her. One grazed her leg. She gasped, but kept running. The soldiers chased her. One shouted into his radio. "Unknown contact. Fast. Not human. Send backup." Zorella dove into a crack in the canyon wall and pressed against the stone. Her cloak flickered again, returning. She became nearly invisible. The soldiers ran past. Her hiding spot, breath heavy, weapons up. She waited. Minutes passed. Finally, silence. Zorella limped out, her hand clutching her bleeding leg. Her mind was racing. They shot first. No warning, no words, just instant violence. She stumbled back to her ship. The hatch opened automatically, and she fell inside. She sat on the floor, breathing hard. Her wound wasn't deep, but her pride was. "Zorella to command," she said, voice shaking. "Mission compromised. Drone destroyed. Contact made. Life forms. Not harmless." There was silence on the other end. "Then, repeat that, Scout Zorella." She looked out the window at the horizon. The humans were still out there armed, dangerous, and unaware of what they had just started. "They have weapons," she said. "Crude. Simple, but they work." She pulled the bullet from her armor and held it up. Heavy, sharp, real. "These creatures are not primitive," she said. "They're survivors, and their weapons are deadly." She dropped the bullet on the floor. It made a hard, cold sound as it bounced once, then rolled to a stop. Zorella stared at it. She felt something she had never felt before. Not curiosity, not pity. Fear. The sun was setting. The sky turned orange and gold, casting long shadows across the desert. Zorella sat inside her ship, her leg bandaged with glowing blue gel. Her face was calm, but her eyes stayed locked on the bullet on the floor. She had studied many weapons in her training, but nothing like this.
Out.
Better. No energy cell. Just metal, fire, and force. And it had almost killed her. She replayed the footage from her broken drone. Frame by frame, she watched the moment the soldier fired. There was no hesitation. No warning, just the pull of a trigger and death. Mind raced. If this was how humans greeted the unknown, what else were they hiding? She stood and activated her stealth suit again. This time, she double-checked every system. Her ship couldn't leave yet not, with her drone destroyed and her scan incomplete. She needed more data before command would let her return. Her orders were clear. Finish. The mission. She stepped into the night. The desert was darker now, the stars glowing above like distant watchers. Zorella moved quickly, her suit shimmering. With the light of the sand and shadows, no footprints. No sound. She followed the humans. Her visor picked up their trail heat signatures. Deep boot marks, scraps of plastic from their rations. They had returned to a small outpost built into the rocks. 4 soldiers, 1 radio tower, power generator that rattled and sparked. Zorella crept closer. Inside the outpost, the soldiers sat around a metal table. They were loud, eating, talking. One of them, Sergeant Collins, rubbed his head. That thing out there wasn't human. It moved too fast. Another soldier, Carter, leaned back. I saw it too. It's like light bending around nothing. You sure? It wasn't one of ours? Colin shook his head. We don't have tech like that. Not out here. Carter opened a box on the table. Inside were bullets, dozens of them. He picked one up and smiled. Whatever that thing was, these still work just fine. Zarella flinched. She had seen energy weapons, plasma beams, graviton fields. But this was different. The humans were proud of their tools of death. They laughed. While loading them, she crept closer, toward the far corner of the base. Where a storage crate stood half open, Zarella slipped inside. She moved past piles of old equipment helmets, dusty goggles, broken radios, and stopped when she saw a rifle. Long, heavy, cold to the touch. Its design was ugly, but practical. She picked it up. It wasn't just a weapon. It was history, built by hands, not machines, powered by explosion, not energy. She scanned it with her wristband. No advanced tech, no guidance system, just fire, powder, and destruction. Her report would be clear now. These primitive humans had built tools that could kill even the advanced Varelian race. But before she could leave, something clicked behind her. Freeze. She turned slowly. A human soldier stood at the door. Carter. His rifle was pointed straight at her. Chest, I don't know what you are, he said, eyes wide, but you're not going anywhere. Zarella's cloak had failed again. She stood fully visible now, glowing faintly in the dark room. Her skin shimmered blue under the light. Her eyes met his. Neither of them moved. Carter's hand shook. You understand me? Can you talk? Zarella didn't speak. Her training told her not to. But then she saw his finger tightening on the trigger. She dropped the alien. Rifled, it clanged on the floor. Carter flinched. In that split second, Zarella pressed a button on her suit. A burst of light flashed just enough to blind him for a moment. She leaped forward, knocked the weapon away, and ran through the door. Alarms blared. Lights flashed red. Intruder, someone yelled. Zarella dashed across the rocks, gunfire chasing her. Bullets hit the ground near her feet. One struck her shoulder but bounced off her armor. She dove into a ravine and rolled. Behind a boulder, another bullet hit the rock above her head. She had to escape. She had the data. That was enough. She reached into her suit and pulled out a small cube, her emergency transporter. It was unstable, not meant for long use, but she had no choice. She pressed it. The cube glowed, then shattered. Her body vanished in a blink, just as another bullet hit the spot where she had stood. Back in her ship, she reappeared, breathing. Hard, her shoulder throbbed. She fell to her knees, her ship's computer activated. Emergency transport complete. Injury detected. Begin medical scan. Zarella shook her head. She limped to her console and uploaded the footage. All of it, the gunshots, the broken drone, the crude weapons that killed. She looked into the camera. To the High Command, she said slowly, Earth is not a safe planet. Its people are violent, yes, but not foolish. They don't need advanced tech to be deadly. She held up the rifle she had stolen before Carter found her. They use metal, fire, pressure, and still they kill. Zarella stared into the lens. They are not primitive, she said. They are dangerous, and if we treat them as weak... She paused, thinking of the bullet that grazed her shoulder. We will lose. She ended the message and collapsed in her chair. Outside, the desert wind howled. Inside, the ship remained quiet, but Zarella knew that silence would not last. Earth had noticed something was out there. Now they would hunt it. And her, the mission was no longer about studying humans. It was about surviving them. Night faded. The sun rose again over the desert, hot and sharp. Burning away the cool shadows of the night before, Zarella sat in her ship, quiet. She had barely moved. Her shoulders still ached. Her mind raced. She had sent her report to High Command, but no reply had come. That worried her. She replayed her own words. They don't need advanced tech to be deadly. She looked again at the human rifle sitting across the room, cold and quiet. It was like a sleeping predator, still but not harmless. Zirilla stood and limped to the control panel. She had one mission left. Learn how far human weapons could really go. Her leaders had to know what Earth had hidden, what they were capable of. The ship's scanner picked up something. A dead zone about 40 kilometers east. No radio signals, no power lines, no people. Just ... silence. Zirilla zoomed in. There was a strange shape under the sand-long flat. Metal, half buried. She narrowed her eyes. That kind of silence usually meant one thing: a test site. She cloaked again, climbed out of the ship, and headed toward the zone. It took hours to reach it. Her leg throbbed. Her body was tired. But Zirilla was driven by something new — fear. She reached a rocky cliff overlooking the dead zone. Below her, rusty fences surrounded a long trench, broken vehicles and rows of strange towers. Some were tipped over. Others stood, like forgotten gods. Zirilla scanned the area. Radiation. High. Energy signatures. Old, but strong. Weapons grade. Metals. Confirmed. She climbed down carefully, stepping through the dust. The place was abandoned, but not dead. It smelled of old fire, of metal cooked. Under heat and pressure, as she walked deeper, she passed old missiles, some standing, some cracked open. Her visor labeled them all: nuclear, chemical. THERMOBARIC. Each. One was made for destruction on a massive scale, but one structure caught her eye: a concrete door half buried in the sand. It had a rusted sign above it: "Do not enter, U.S. government." Zirilla had no idea what that meant, but the locked door intrigued her. She tapped her wrist, and a beam cut through the metal like soft paper. Inside, a staircase led downward. The air changed. It got colder, older. The walls were lined with pipes and cables. At the bottom was a bunker. It looked like no one had entered in decades. Dust covered every surface, but the machines were still humming. Zirilla moved slowly, scanning everything: screens, cables, switches. She had no map, but her instincts led her to the central chamber. There, in the center, stood a launch control panel. Above it, behind glass, was a giant missile. Her visor beeped. Nuclear payload detected. Active fission core. Condition: unstable. She stepped back. This weapon was ready to launch. With the push of a single button, she stared in silence. The humans had built a device that could destroy a whole city. Maybe more. Not with plasma. Not with lasers, with fire. She pressed a button on the panel and played back the last log entry. Static filled the speakers. Then came a voice. "This is Commander Doyle. July 17th. If anyone finds this, know we built it out of fear, not hate. They told us we had to match the Soviets. Strike first. Be ready. But we never launched it. We couldn't. We knew if we did, we wouldn't be any better than the monsters we were afraid of." The recording cut out. Zirilla stood still. These people weren't just killers. They were afraid. They built these weapons not because they wanted war, but because they feared it. Her people had judged humans too quickly. She began recording a message for command. This world is not simple. Its people are not all violent, but their tools are. They fear the dark, they fight each other, and yet they hesitate to destroy everything. That is what makes them dangerous. Suddenly the ground shook. A sensor beeped on her wrist. Movement. Vehicles. 3 of them. Military engines. Zirilla blinked. They had found her again. She ran out of the bunker and climbed to higher ground. In the distance, 3 black trucks were moving fast, kicking up sand. 1 helicopter followed above. She had minutes, maybe less. She sprinted back toward the trench, but her leg gave out. She collapsed. The injury was worse than she thought. Blood soaked into her boot. She tried to cloak again, but her suit was glitching. The system flashed red. Her heart pounded. She crawled to a nearby pile of debris and pulled a large metal sheet. Over herself, just as the truck stopped nearby, doors slammed, boots hit the ground, voices barked orders. She's here. We picked up her energy signature. Watch for cloaking. She can go invisible. Zarella stayed silent under the scrap metal. Dust filled her mouth. She slowed her breathing. Her body trembled, not just from pain, but from something deeper. Had come to study this world, to learn about its people. But now she was a target, a weapon to them. She pressed her wristband, one final scan of the bunker's contents. Every missile, every warhead, every log entry. All data was stored. Then she sent one message to her ship. Prepare for immediate retrieval. Outside, the soldiers spread out. One of them stood just a few feet from her. He turned. His foot hit the metal plate. Zarella closed her eyes, but then static. All their radios went out at once. What the hell? A soldier said. Another shouted, EMP! It's her! They scrambled, confused. Zarella's transporter activated, her body glowing faintly. She clenched her jaw. The pain nearly made her scream. Then she vanished. Back on her ship, she reappeared. Barely conscious. The transport burned out her last reserve battery. She fell forward. Gasping, her computer lit up. Auto launch ready. Returning to orbit, she whispered, Good. Let them find the bunker. Let them see what they've hidden from themselves. The ship began rising into the sky, lifting away from Earth's surface, as the desert grew smaller beneath her. Zarella closed her eyes. She had seen enough. The humans weren't just deadly, they were holding back something far worse, something even they were afraid to use, and she knew now. The real danger wasn't what humans had already done, it was what they still could do. The sky was dark when Zarella returned to Earth. Her ship hovered high above a quiet city, a place once full of life, now scarred by time and war. Burned buildings, cracked roads, faded billboards. The humans called it District 7. According to her scans, no government forces were present, no soldiers, no tanks. Only one human signature remained, and it was moving. Zarella lowered the ship behind the ruins of an old factory. It had been 3 days since she escaped the desert. Her wounds had mostly healed, but her thoughts hadn't. She had learned too much. Humans were not the helpless species her leaders believed. They were violent, unpredictable, but also clever and resourceful. Their greatest strength wasn't their machines. It was their will to survive. Zarella stepped out of her ship and activated. A low cloak just enough to blur her image, but not enough to fully vanish. Her power cells were low. If she got caught this time, she wouldn't escape again. She moved through broken streets, past graffiti, shattered glass, and the skeletons. Of cars, it was quiet but not dead. Then she heard it. A sharp crack like metal, hitting metal. Then footsteps. Zarella ducked into an alley, scanning the sound. Someone was inside the nearby building, alone, carrying a weapon. She crept forward, and peeked through a shattered window. A young human, maybe 17, maybe 18, stood near. A fire barrel, cleaning a small gun. Her face was tired but alert. Her jacket was torn, and a scar ran down her cheek. Zarella scanned her name. Unknown. Weapon. Modified sidearm. Energy. Low. Fear level. Moderate. Zarella watched in silence. The girl paused suddenly. Her eyes flicked to the window. She had heard something. Zarella stayed perfectly still. The girl raised her weapon. I know you're there, she said, her voice firm. Come out. I don't miss. Zarella hesitated. Then slowly she let the cloak drop. The girl's eyes widened. She didn't lower the gun. You're not one of them, the girl said. Zarella didn't speak. The girl stepped closer. You were in the news. A month ago there was footage. A shimmer in the desert. They covered it up, but I saw it. Was you, wasn't it? Still, Zarella said nothing. The girl slowly lowered the weapon. Name's Maya. You're not attacking. That's good. I'm guessing you're not here to wipe us out. Zarella finally spoke. I came to observe. But your kind, attacked first. Maya raised an eyebrow. Sounds like us. She turned back to her fire barrel. Well, if you're not going to kill me, come sit down. I won't shoot unless you give me a reason to. Zarella stepped inside. The air smelled like oil and ash. Maya tossed her a piece of bread. Not sure if you eat, but it's all I got. Zarella didn't move. Maya laughed. Fine, more for me. They sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Zarella asked, Why are you alone? Maya's face darkened. This district used to have a resistance cell. We were trying to survive after the collapse. Then the drones came. Government. Alienate. Didn't matter. They killed everyone. I ran. Zarella's heart sank. She hadn't given the order, but her people had sent drones here weeks ago. She had just learned about it. The mission had changed behind her back. Now, her own kind was attacking. Zarella stood. I need to find a secure location. One with records. Data. A map of your weapon systems. Maya blinked. Why? Hesitated, then said, Because I need to stop what's coming. I can't do it alone. Maya laughed again, but this time it wasn't funny. You're serious? You want to stop your own kind? Zarella nodded. Maya stared at her, thinking. Then slowly stood up and pulled back a curtain in the corner of the room. Behind it was a hidden staircase. You want secrets? Follow me. Zarella followed her underground, where the air was colder. The staircase led to a reinforced bunker steel. Walls, flickering lights, and rows of dusty computer screens. Most were dead, but one still glowed. Maya walked up to it and pressed a few buttons. I don't know how to use most of this, but the people who built it, they knew too much. Zarella scanned the files. Weapon codes, coordinates, ancient blueprints, and then something strange. A black file labeled Project Horizon Zarella opened. Her eyes widened. Inside were schematics for a weapon not of Earth. A satellite cannon with alien wiring, but powered by a human-designed warhead. The file said it had been placed in orbit during the Cold War, disguised as a weather satellite. She whispered this, ... Zarella answered slowly. A weapon designed by your people, ... with stolen alien tech. If it fires, your whole world could go dark. Maya frowned. Why would we build that? Zarella didn't answer. She didn't need to. Maya spoke first. They knew we were never safe. Suddenly, Zarella's wristband beeped. Her heart dropped. Incoming signal. Varelian strike team landing in 18 hours. Target. Sector 7 to 12. Sterilization protocol. Maya saw her expression change. What is it? Zarella looked at her. They're coming, she said. And they won't stop. Maya gripped her gun. Then we'd better get ready. Zarella turned back to the glowing screen. She had only 18 hours to stop an alien strike, T-Man to stop humanity from firing something worse. It was no longer about her mission. It was about saving two worlds from each other. The sky opened. At first it looked like a strange storm. Then the clouds parted and something massive pushed through. Zarella looked up from the rooftop of the ruined skyscraper. Her silver eyes locked on the Varelian mothership as it broke the upper atmosphere. Behind it came 6 smaller strike cruisers, shaped like glowing blades, humming with energy. She didn't breathe. They're early, she whispered. Maya stood beside her, gripping an old human rifle. Her hands were shaking, but her voice stayed strong. You said we had 12 hours. We had 18, Zarella said. It's been 17. Below them, The city stirred. Old alarms wailed. Civilians scattered. Windows shattered as the first ship passed overhead. The air shimmered from its heat trail. One of the cruisers sent out a wide, pulsing signal, an electromagnetic pulse. In a second, everything on the ground went dark. Cars stopped. Lights shut off. Radios died. Every powered system in a 10-mile radius failed, except for the old weapons. Generators still ran on gasoline. Guns still fired bullets. Humans, once again, turned to their past. Zirella pressed her wrist console, trying to block the fleets. Signals. They're starting the sweep. We'll scan the city block by block. If we stay here, they'll find us. Then we move, Maya said. Zirella shook her head. No. We send a message first. She opened a hidden transmitter she'd taken from her ship, a secure Varelian channel. Zirellata Commander Vashed. She said, I'm on the surface. Do not engage. Humans are not an active threat. His voice came through the static, cold, sharp. Zirella, you broke contact. You disobeyed orders. You're compromised. No, she said. You are. You've mistaken survival for hostility. Stand down. Extraction in 60 minutes. Full sterilization will begin as scheduled. She stepped forward. If you fire on this city, I will make sure the humans fire back. You forget they have weapons, too. You think their weapons can stop us? He said. Zirella paused. They already have. She shut the channel. Maya looked at her. Just declared war on your own people, Zirella replied. No, I just bought us time. A sharp whistle cut through the air. One of the Varelian drones flew past the rooftop. It turned midair, scanning the surface. Zirella ducked. Maya raised her rifle. No, Zirella said, don't shoot. It'll send a signal if it's damaged. We need to jam it. She tossed Maya a small cube. Stick this on its sensor core. Maya nodded, crept forward, and without warning, jumped, and slammed the cube onto the drone's side. The machine sparked and froze in mid-dash air. It dropped. Zirella caught it and quickly rewired the core. Now it was theirs. We'll use this to find the control node of the strike team, she said. Every ship is connected to one. Maya scanned the sky. How long until the real strike starts? Zirella looked at her wristband. Minutes. They ran through the broken streets as fighter ships passed overhead. The humans on the ground had started fighting. Soldiers fired old rifles. Mortar launched from rooftops. Drones fell from the sky. One of the strike cruisers was hit by a homemade missile launched from a half-buried Cold War tank. The alien ship spun out of control and slammed into a skyscraper, exploding on impact. Zirella watched in horror. The Varelians weren't ready for this kind of resistance. They'd come expecting a soft, fearful world, but Earth had a memory of Waran, a taste for fire. They reached an old subway tunnel. Hidden inside was a rusted control terminal linked to the last known satellite uplink. Zirella patched in the stolen drone core. On the screen appeared the alien fleet's battle map. I've found the control node. She said, it's on the flagship direct center. If we knock it offline, we shut down the entire ground operation. Can we reach it? Maya asked. Zirella looked at the screen. No, but someone already is. She zoomed in. An old Earth submarine, diesel-powered, not digital, had launched from a base near the coast. It carried one torpedo, just one, and it was locked on the flagship. Maya leaned in. How did they even know to fire? Zirella said nothing. She recognized the signature. It wasn't human. Someone else, another Varelian, had sent the targeting code. From inside the mothership, another defector who, Maya asked Zirella, whispered, someone like me? They watched the screen. The torpedo hit the Varelian flagship. Not a full explosion, just a shockwave. Deep in the ship's central control ring, lights blinked out, drone signals dropped, cruisers slowed, chaos rippled through the alien ranks. But it wouldn't last long. The flagship still hovered, damaged, but not down. Zirella grabbed Maya's shoulder. That was our window. To do what? Maya asked. To finish this. Zirella raised the drone core and uploaded one final command. Force. Shutdown of ground scan systems. She turned to Maya. We go now. Before they adapt. Maya looked at the sky where the war was just beginning. You ready to fight aliens with 50-year-old tech? She asked. Zarella smiled slightly. It's already working, isn't it? From above, the fleet began to retreat briefly. But the countdown to full planetary strike hadn't stopped. Zarella had stopped the attack for now, but Vash would return. And next time he wouldn't hold back. The war had only begun. The sky was on fire. From the rooftop, Zarella watched smoke rise across the city. Buildings were burning. Sirens screamed in the distance. The first alien cruiser had crashed only minutes ago, but the shock still echoed through the streets like thunder. Maya coughed beside her, covering her mouth with a dirty cloth. This doesn't look like a retreat, she said. It's not, Zarella replied. It's a reset. They're recalibrating their strike. She looked up at the Varelian flagship, damaged but still floating. Smaller ships circled it like hornets, reforming ranks. The human surprise resistance had slowed the attack, but it hadn't stopped it. The aliens would come again. Stronger, smarter, but so would the humans. Zarella had seen it and now seen what Earth could become when pushed to the edge. And what terrified her wasn't their weapons. It was their adaptability. The ground shook. Tanks rolled through, the streets sold, rust-covered machines, burning diesel, roaring with life. Behind them came soldiers, carrying weapons that looked ancient bolt-action rifles. Revolvers, grenade launchers, straight out of old war museums. Maya pointed to one. That thing probably hasn't fired since the 1960s. Zarella nodded, and yet it brought down a Varelian scout drone 2 hours ago. She opened her wrist panel. The alien systems were still down, communications jammed, power rerouting. The strike team was confused, disoriented, but not defeated. One chance, Zarella said. Strike the command ship from inside. If we destroy the neural array, the entire fleet will go blind. Maya raised an eyebrow. And how do we get inside a ship floating in the sky? Zarella pulled out a small device, a teleport beacon, cracked and sparking. Won't get us all the way, she said, but it can reach the lower hangar. If we move fast, Maya looked at the beacon, then at the sky, then back at the fire below. Let's do it. They moved quickly through the chaos. All around them, humans were fighting back, not with fancy tech, not with energy beams, but with fire, smoke, and sheer rage. They used old tanks, repurposed drones, even gasoline traps. In sewer tunnels, whatever they had, they used. Zarella was shocked. No war planner on Varelia could have predicted this. Primitive weapons weren't supposed to work against advanced alloy hulls or energy shielding, but they did. The shields couldn't block firebombs launched from slingshots. The cruisers couldn't detect diesel-powered submarines. The drone AI couldn't read irregular human movements. Old tools, crude minds, unpredictable patterns. This was Earth's advantage, and it terrified her people. They reached the extraction point near the ruins of an air traffic tower. Zarella activated the beacon. The device hummed, and the air shimmered. She turned to Maya. When we get inside, don't hesitate. I won't, Maya said. But if I die in space, I'm haunting you. Zarella smiled faintly. Then the beacon triggered. A flash of white light, then silence. When the light faded, they stood inside a long metallic hallway. The walls were lined with alien symbols and glowing veins of energy. They were in. Alarms were already sounding. Zarella pointed down the corridor. The neural array is through that door. Hey, we'll need to move fast before security drones activate. They ran. Behind them, a door opened, and a silver drone hovered out, weapons glowing. Maya turned, aimed her rifle, and fired. The bullet hit squarely in the drone's eye. It dropped. Zarella's eyes widened. One shot. Maya pumped the bolt. You'd be surprised what a .308 round can do. They reached the core chamber. Inside, a pillar of light rose from floor to ceiling, pulsing alive. It connected every ship in the fleet. Zarella reached into her suit and pulled out a black cube. This will overload the system. She stepped toward the pillar, but a force field flared up, blocking her. Behind him a voice echoed, "Zarella." She froze. Commander Vasht stepped out of the shadows. Tall, armored, flawless. His eyes glowed. "You betrayed your kind," he said. "For them," Zarella stepped forward. "They fight for their survival, not conquest. Their filth," Vasht spat, "and they will burn." Maya raised her rifle. "You first." Vasht turned toward her hand in that moment. Zarella tossed the cube. It passed through a crack in the field, bounced once, then stuck to the pillar. It began to blink. No. Vasht lunged forward, but Maya fired. The shot hit his leg. He stumbled. The cube exploded with a silent pulse of light. Every light on the ship dimmed. Every screen blinked out. Zarella turned to Maya. "We did it." But Vasht was not down. He rose, roaring, ready to strike, but Zarella tackled him. They fell backward, grappling, as systems collapsed around them. Maya reached for Zarella's arm. Time to go. Zarella tapped her wrist panel. Teleport out emergency override. The beacon activated. A final flash of light. Then they were back on Earth, coughing, bleeding, alive. The Varelian fleet above them. Stalling, drifting, disconnected, blinded. Maya rolled over and looked at Zarella. "You really think they'll leave now?" Zarella looked at the smoke-filled sky. "They don't," she said. "Then we'll make them." And for the first time, Maya believed her. The stars shimmered over the broken city. Smoke still rose from rooftops. Fires flickered in the distance. The streets were quiet but not peaceful. The battle was over for now. Zarella stood at the edge of a collapsed freeway, her skin covered. In dust and blood, her cloak was torn. Her energy reserves were almost empty, but her eyes were calm. She looked up at the sky. The Varelian fleet had stopped moving. No strikes, no drones, no signals. The neural array was offline. Their ships were floating blind, silent above Earth's surface. They had lost control. Behind her, Maya walked up slowly, limping on one leg. She held a rifle in one hand and a cracked helmet in the other. "You really think they're gone?" Maya asked. Zarella didn't answer. She tapped her wrist console. A secure channel opened a direct line to the Varelian High Council. A blue hologram appeared above her palm. Face of High Speaker Vale, leader of the Varelian fleet. He looked furious. "Zarella, you stand on a dying world next to the enemy. You disabled our strike force. You helped humans fire on our ships. Do you understand what you've done?" Zarella raised her voice, steady and strong. "I've seen what your sensors couldn't. This world is not weak. It is not primitive. You saw sticks and fire. I saw survival." "You betrayed your own species," Vale said coldly. Zarella stepped forward. "No, I protected them from your ignorance. You feared these people because they're unpredictable. You thought your technology made you safe." She held up a small piece of twisted metal, human-made bullet, cracked and bent. "This did more damage than your best war drones." Vale stared in silence. Zarella continued. "You said humans were violent. You were right. But they don't kill out of greed. They fight because they don't know how to quit. They build fire from scrap. They dig hope out of rubble." She looked at Maya. "They don't give up, and neither will I." For a long moment, the High Speaker said nothing. Then he gave a single nod. "This war is over. For now." The hologram faded. Zarella turned to Maya. "That's the closest thing to a surrender my people will ever give." Maya sat down on a cracked piece of concrete. "Good, I'm too tired to punch anyone else." They laughed just for a second. Then silence returned. Zarella looked at the horizon. "I'll be hunted. I can't go back." Maya handed her the same rifle she'd carried since the start. "Then stay here," she said. "You'll need this." Zarella took it slowly. Heavy, cold, familiar now. "I used to think this world was beneath us," she said. "But now, I know better." She looked at the stars one last time. Her home was out there, but her future. The stars shimmered over the broken city. Smoke still rose from rooftops. Fires flickered in the distance. The streets were quiet but not peaceful. The battle was over for now. Zirilla stood at the edge of a collapsed freeway, her skin covered in dust and blood. Her cloak was torn. Her energy reserves were almost empty, but her eyes were calm. She looked up at the sky. The Varelian fleet had stopped moving. No strikes, no drones, no signals. The neural array was offline. Their ships were floating blind, silent above Earth's surface. They had lost control. Behind her, Maya walked up slowly, limping on one leg. She held a rifle in one hand and a cracked helmet in the other. "You really think they're gone?" Maya asked. Zirilla didn't answer. She tapped her wrist console. A secure channel opened a direct line to the Varelian High Council. A blue hologram appeared above her palm. Face of High Speaker Vale, leader of the Varelian fleet. He looked furious. "Zirilla, you stand on a dying world next to the enemy. You disabled our strike force. You helped humans fire on our ships. Do you understand what you've done?" Zirilla raised her voice, steady and strong. "I've seen what your sensors couldn't. This world is not weak. It is not primitive. You saw sticks and fire. I saw survival." "You betrayed your own species," Vale said coldly. Zirilla stepped forward. "No, I protected them from your ignorance. You feared these people because they're unpredictable. You thought your technology made you safe." She held up a small piece of twisted metal, human-made bullet, cracked and bent. "This did more damage than your best war drones?" Vale stared in silence. Zirilla continued. "You said humans were violent. You were right. But they don't kill out of greed. They fight because they don't know how to quit. They build fire from scrap. They dig hope out of rubble." She looked at Maya. "They don't give up, and neither will I." For a long moment, the High Speaker said nothing. Then he gave a single nod. "This war is over. For now." The hologram faded. Zirilla turned to Maya. "That's the closest thing to a surrender my people will ever give." Maya sat down on a cracked piece of concrete. "Good, I'm too tired to punch anyone else." They laughed just for a second. Then silence returned. Zirilla looked at the horizon. "I'll be hunted. I can't go back." Maya handed her the same rifle she'd carried since the start. "Then stay here," she said. "You'll need this." Zirilla took it slowly. Heavy, cold, familiar now. "I used to think this world was beneath us," she said. "But now, I know better." She looked at the stars one last time. Her home was out there, but her future